A 2-year-old boy in Louisiana began waking up every night with a scream that sounded far older than he was, and his parents knew something was wrong. His voice carried a deep fear that did not belong to a child, and each time he woke, he clung to them, shaking as if he had survived something terrible. Every night he cried about a plane falling from the sky, about fire surrounding him, and about being trapped with no way out, no matter how loud he screamed. His parents tried to explain it as simple nightmares, but the dreams returned with the same intensity every night, ever changing or softening. Instead of fading, the nightmares grew clearer, adding details that felt too sharp for imagination, as if the memory wanted to be understood. He described smoke filling a small cockpit, metal pressing against his knees, and flames rushing closer with a sound he said he could still hear. He said the plane was hit by the Japanese, even though he did not know what war meant or what countries existed outside his home. He used words like Corsair, drop tank, and propeller shaft with a strange confidence that confused his parents every time he spoke. They had never used those terms and wondered how their son could say them with such natural certainty at such a young age. Soon he began drawing pictures of planes diving into clouds of smoke ships, crossing dark waves and explosions that stretched across the sky. Nearly every drawing had a single word written on it, Natoma, a word he repeated without hesitation, no matter how many times he drew it. When they asked what Natoma meant, he simply said it was where his plane took off, from speaking with a calmness that did not match the content. His parents searched the name and discovered the USS Natoma Bay, a real ship that served in the Pacific during World War II. Their son could not read or watch war films, yet he named a real ship perfectly, as if it was something he once knew. Growing more concerned, they found a list of pilots from the Natoma Bay and showed it to him without saying what the list was. He immediately pointed to one name, Jack Larson, identifying him with the certainty of someone recognizing an old companion. When they asked who he was in those dreams, the boy lowered his voice and whispered the name James Huston, as if it hurt to say it. They searched the name and found a real pilot who flew a Corsair from the Natoma Bay and died in 1945 after being hit in combat. His plane was struck in the right engine before it crashed into the ocean, matching the exact details the boy had described in his nightmares. The child also knew that the Corsair propeller bent forward in a crash, something only pilots who experienced impact firsthand would know. His parents contacted surviving veterans from the Natoma Bay, hoping the men could help them understand the strange situation. The veterans expected a confused child or random guesses, but the boy surprised them the moment he walked into the room. He recognized several of the men by name, even though he had never seen their faces before in any form. He spoke small memories about their time on the ship, details they had not shared with anyone for decades. There was a heavy silence in the room as the boy talked with the tone of someone remembering old friends. Then he looked at one man and gently said, "I told you I would come back, Jack," repeating the exact words the real pilot had once said. The veterans were stunned because there was no way the boy could have learned those words or their meaning. His parents reached out to researchers from the University of Virginia, who began documenting the case with care and precision. The researchers confirmed that many details the boy mentioned matched military records, mission logs, and eyewitness reports. He discussed events and mechanical issues he could not possibly know at his age or through any normal exposure. No signs of influence or teaching were found, leaving the case difficult to explain using simple psychological explanations. As the boy grew older, the nightmares slowly faded, as if the memories were finally settling into a quiet place. But one moment stayed strong: the day he met the pilot's sister, a woman named Anne, who carried years of grief. She came unsure and skeptical, not knowing what to believe, but willing to hear whatever the boy might say. The child approached her, slowly looking at her, not with confusion, but with a recognition that surprised everyone. Then he called her by a childhood nickname used only by her brother, a name no one else alive could have known. She cried instantly, because for a moment it felt like her brother had returned to her through a child who should not know her at all. Even skeptics struggled to explain how the boy spoke that name so naturally, without hesitation or uncertainty. The researchers admitted the accuracy of the memories exceeded what any known explanation could fully cover. The boy carried emotion stories and images that did not belong to his present life or to anything he had been taught. People began questioning the nature of memory and whether it exists only in the brain or travels with the soul. Maybe some memories survive death, waiting for a new life to rise into when the moment is right. Maybe certain souls return carrying unfinished stories that echo until someone listens and understands. Maybe children remember more because their minds are open before the world teaches them to doubt their own feelings. James eventually lived a normal life, but the story he carried left a mark on everyone who heard it. His case remains one of the strongest suggestions that consciousness may continue far beyond the body. It made people wonder how far a soul can travel and what pieces of a life remain along the way. He remembered fire falling metal and fear with the clarity of someone who once lived through it. He recognized people he had never met, places he had never visited, and events he had never learned. He carried the emotional memories of a life with unfinished moments and a story that needed to be told. People who heard his story began rethinking the moments in their own lives they could not explain. Why do we fear things we have never experienced in this lifetime? Why do we feel connected to strangers as if our souls recognize them from somewhere else? Why do certain places feel familiar even when our bodies stand there for the first time? Maybe these moments are not accidents, but echoes from a life that came before the one we know. Maybe your soul has lived more than once and carries memories waiting to rise again. Maybe the feelings you could not explain belong to someone you used to be, long before this life began. James showed that memory can move across lifetimes and appear when the soul is ready to release its weight. His case invites everyone to question what they believe about the beginning, the end, and everything in between. If memories survive death, then emotions, love, fear, and unfinished chapters may survive too. If the soul continues traveling, then each life might be part of a much larger story than we understand. Some people feel older inside because their soul has lived far more than their body reveals. Some people feel instant connection because their souls have known each other long before meeting here. Sometimes intuition is simply the heart remembering something the mind has not yet learned. And if you have ever felt that your story began before you were born, that feeling might be telling the truth. Stay close to that feeling, because you are not imagining it. You are not lost, you are not strange, you are simply remembering. And if you ever felt out of place in this lifetime, know this: you are not alone. You are among your own.